We ain't got no education. We ain't got no self-control. Teacher, leave us kids alone. So sung 70s prog rockers Dire Straits on the #1 selling hit album, It's All in All, Another Brick in the Wall. Sadly, that prophecy is coming true. Kids nowadays, they're not interested in education. They're bored in the classroom, and you've got teachers that are delivering a not fit for purpose curriculum. Now thankfully, one man is set to change all that, and it's a man who's been getting a lot of unfair criticism lately. That man is someone who I think is very special. That man is the Education Minister, Mr. Michael Gove. Now a lot of the teachers in this country could do to take a leaf out of Michael Gove's book. For example, he's shown that you don't need to be an expert in your chosen field to be a success. Usually, when you go for a job interview, you've got to have some sort of background knowledge or interest or experience in the job you're applying for. Michael's shown that that's not necessarily the case. You can go for a job, you don't need to know out about it, and you can make it up as you go along, taking tidbits here, tidbits there, bits of information people, and hey presto, before you know it, you're the top of the ladder. So I think teachers could do to take a leaf out of his book and follow what he's done. Now you get people criticising him all the time, saying that he's bringing in free schools, he's bringing in academies, they're no good. But just stop and think for a moment. If you look at the track record of academies, you've got the Academy Awards, the Police Academy films. Okay, they went off the boil a bit after Police Academy 5, but on the whole, academies are a good thing. So I think people need to stop and think about that before they go criticising him. One of the things that the critics always seem to get at Michael Gove for is the fact that he makes U-turns. They say that he's always changing his mind about decisions he's made. Well, I'll tell you something, I think that shows great guts and determination. If you can hold your hand up and say, alright, I've cocked up, which he does on many occasions, that takes some doing. Take, for example, the Baccalaureate. Now, Michael Gove are going to bring in the Baccalaureate. He thought it would bring more rigour and it would give some of these kids on the street a bit more of a run for their money. Now, he had to make a U-turn and say, okay, we're not doing the Baccalaureate. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. He said, I can't spell it. And he said, if I can't spell Baccalaureate, what chance are some of these kids going to have? So, now, I don't know about you, but one thing that really gets my goat up is hearing teachers whinging about the working conditions and the workloads. If you ask me, they don't work enough hours in a day. I'll give you an example. There's a bloke called Brian, who's a teacher, a mate of mine. He plays in our local pool team, pub pool team. He's let us down this season on 5 occasions because he says he's got marking and preparation to do. 5 times he's let us down. Now, one night I come back from pool team. It must have been 12:30 at night. I've been chippy on my way home. Come past his house and his front room light was still on. He's sat there in his front room. His head in his hands over a pile of books, 12:30 at night. Now, to me, if he's got to do that, he's not working enough hours a day. They should make his working day 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and then he could get all his work done and he won't be letting the pool team down. And one of Michael's main priorities is to change the outdated and not fit for purpose GCSE system. Now, back in my day, we did CSEs and O-levels, and they were rigorous. I'll tell you something, they really sorted out the wheat from the chaff. Now, the 2 CSEs that I achieved still hold me in good stead today, but back in them days, there were none of this wet nursing people through. You had to memorise facts, memorise cold hard facts, and by God, if you didn't know it when it comes to exam, you were buggered. But I tell you, it really sorted out, you know, as I said, the good students from the bad students. Now, take for example, when I did English, when I did Shakespeare, nowadays, it's all wet nursing students do. You talk about all the history of Shakespeare, the characters, who did this, who did that. Not like that in my days. I was given a copy of 12 Nights, and my teacher said to me, right, get stuck into that, read it and tell me what it's about. And by God, I had to remember every aspect of it for a couple of weeks, and then 2 years later I had an exam on it. But it made you remember. I mean, still today, them characters from 12 Nights are etched on my memory. Characters like Valmorly or Othello, Balthazar, Melchior, King Caspar, Desmond Morna, Oliver Cromwell. Who can forget that line when Oliver Cromwell says, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" You know, they're there forever. They stay with you, them things. And that's what's lacking nowadays. It needs that rigour. I mean, I'm not saying that everything's not fit for purpose. There's still some things that are classics, that are used today, that were used years ago. Things, for example, like Steinway's Mice and Men. Now, I did Mice and Men years ago. It's still being used nowadays in schools. And it's a classic tale. Classic characters. You've got Lenny, Curly, Moe. Who can forget the scrapes that them three buggers got up to? You know what I mean? The conflicts, the turmoil between Curly's wife and Larry's sister. You've got all that frustration going on. Now, things like that, there's an old saying, if it hasn't been mended, don't try and break it. And that's the case with things like Mice and Men. When people can't find the right words to use about Michael Gove, or these so-called educated people, when they can't beat him with words, they use other words to try and bring him down. They say he's smug, he's weak-chinned. They say he's a prat, he's gormless looking. Alright, he might be, but under that there's a man there that's really trying hard for this country. Now, when I look at Michael Gove, I don't see any of that. I see a word beginning with C. That's right, courageous. This man is courageous. To take an outdated, outmoulded education system and bring it back 30 or 40 years to what it were all that time ago, to demolish what we've got now, that takes a lot of guts and determination, and I think he should be praised for that. So to round off, never mind the words of Dire Straits, let's think of another singer from the 1970s instead, who said, "Education, education, education, that's all you need." That was Ryan Castle, the tap dancing trombone player. Let's think of his words and be inspired by them instead. That's all from me for this week on Tash Time. Join us again next week when I'll be talking about some other things that people are interested in. Thank you.